Welcome, everyone, to another adventure into reality. I am joined today by my intrepid co-host, Martina GrübMueller. Welcome again, Martina.
Hi, Andrew.
How you doing
Great
today?
To be here. I'm really good. Very interesting energies.
Yes, we have got a dust cloud surrounding the world, creating weird energies. We've got our politics going crazy, and we have solar flares that come and disappear and reappear like ghosts. Martina, today we're going to talk about a subject we've talked about many times before, but this is hold on a second, my headset's actually screwed up. We're going to be talking about narcissism, boundaries, and how certain archetypes, such as the Hermit, follow narcissistic tendencies. Now, I have done other shows, and we've done other shows on narcissism. This is not an all-in-one. This is an expansion. If you guys like to hear a more detailed show from another perspective, you go back to the shows I did with David Ellis back in September and October, titled Narcissism. So you go to the YouTube channel, click on the video buttons, and you scroll down to the October, November, so September, October, November, and you'll see a variety of shows. Martina and I are going to give a different perspective and a different layer. For those of you that are new to the show, what we're trying to give you is information that you can use in the moment to disconnect from narcissists in general. Martina, let's just jump in there. What is the nature of a narcissist when they're trying to engage you into their world?
Yeah, I was just wondering if we should kick it off with a little definition of what a narcissist is. But, I think everybody has an understanding of it. So what is the nature? The nature of a narcissist, for me, if you ask me, is really that sense of inflated ego, that inflated confidence, that sense of grandiose behavior, beingness, that type of stuff, which they then inflict onto other people. And most of the time, it's the empath that is which is great, counterparty that allows that to happen.
Well, the empath is attracted by the pheromones of the narcissist, and most time the empath has no control over their skill set, which creates a soup of toxicity between the narcissist and the empath. Now, there are many books out there, such as Why Are Empaths Attracted to Narcissists, and other titles very similar to that. And there are many, many reasons, in fact, so many that many different people can identify with, because many narcissists trap empaths who have no control over their skill in relationships. We see it all the time.
So you just said something here, because yes, there's so much out there about that subject, but you just mentioned a word here which is interesting, is that the empath is attracted by the pheromone.
Yes.
The narcissist. So why don't you say a little bit about that? Because that's a slightly different angle, isn't it?
So a pheromone is a scent that is also a psychic scent that is put out through your scent glands as well as in your aura. And this type of pheromone is there to filter out people who will be a signature frequency match for narcissism, meaning will become a yes person, will service them, won't confront them, and will agree with the majority of what they say, unless the person is leading them to a greater intelligence, meaning I tell you this so you think this, I tell you this so you think this and this. And that's the other side of the narcissist, who's the grand planner and manipulator.
Yeah. But it's literally a scent. So you can actually smell a narcissist from a mile away.
And a psychic scent in your aura too.
Yeah.
It's two layers. And the reason why empaths is their psychic skills are often so tuned up and they don't know how to turn them off. It's the psychic side that attracts them like magnets, and they slam into their auric field. And then the narcissist scent, like cats peeing in a territory, comes all over them, and they lose their sense of identity once they start taking on the actual scent itself, and it begins to replace their own scent.
So that's the boundary violation, isn't it? This is where, you know, the narcissist then infringes into the energetics, into the sovereign boundaries of the empath. But of course, the empath has the door wide open, so it's very easy.
Correct. And again, they don't know how to turn it off. And oftentimes the skills levels dialed up. It could be a narcissist who's trying to go through a healing state, but their pheromones of narcissism are still there. And then the empath is attracted through this healing state, which is just a facade for the narcissist. Everything with a narcissist is a facade. That's what we have to understand. And the term facade means fake outer that looks really good, but upon questioning and looking through, you can easily see through the facade that's them.
But they can be quite successful.
Most type A personalities that are in business have all the qualities of narcissism.
Yeah. And I think this is maybe why the empath is sort of attracted to that person. And I think, you know, I used to be an empath, you know, a lot. I still have very empathetic sort of innate ways of connecting with people, but with the boundaries now. But it's almost like they perceive the capacities that the narcissist has, doesn't necessarily mean that they will ever choose it without being the manipulator. I think this is very often where the empath gets messed up.
The empath gets overwritten. Their personality, because the narcissist is so imprinting upon them, their original archetype begins to be reprinted. That's why a lot of empaths who have been in long-term relationships and are recovering from hard relationships actually become narcissists, even though they were never that to begin with.
But that's part of, I think you could almost say narcissist abuser. So the abused becoming the abuser. That's the bridge before we can go into neutral, isn't it?
The victim-victimizer scenario.
Victim, the victimizer, and then, or the bully becomes the one who's bullying, and then they can move on into sacred neutral and go into alliance.
So it's kind of like Pavlov's dog. So when a narcissist begins the bullying, overriding process of an empath, and they don't stand in their sovereign power, a lot of the empath's original programming from their mother and father gets replaced with the narcissists. Yes. And that's why it's so hard to recover from narcissistic relationships. Also, narcissistic relationships are inherently codependent. The narcissist is codependent on you being their bitch. And the empath is codependent on the narcissist making them their bitch.
Yes, that is the codependent relationship. And this is also why it does work, you know, until it doesn't anymore, because the empath starts realizing that actually this is an abusive relationship. Because what does the empath do, you know, other than, you know, manipulate and abuse? You know, what actually happens to the empath in a narcissistic relationship? They start to lose completely their sense of who they are, the sense of truth.
Because they don't stand in their power, because the empathy stops them from being able to stand into their power. But not all narcissists are abusive. There are some that have reached the manipulation level that everything they say is a plan to put somebody in a position that is underneath them, but not in a negative way. And those are the hardest ones to understand, that their level of narcissism is that way.
Yes. So would you say somebody who has that need, that urge to be right all the time and run the conversation, lead a conversation, a little bit like the terrorist we were talking last time, the conversational terrorist, that would be a form of narcissism then too, right?
That's more sociopath.
Okay.
Now, there's a fine line between what a sociopath and a narcissist is.
Okay.
Do narcissists feel emotions? Sometimes they do.
Sometimes they
Sociopaths
do.
do not feel emotions, and most of the time have not had any emotional journey in their majority of their life. And then there's the psychopath
Right.
who
Mhm.
uses pain and trauma for emotional release,
Mm.
sadism.
Okay, so this is also where the empath comes in, because the empath is all about emotions, right? And it's
Who
all about
then
nurturing.
they also feed the psychopaths and sociopaths with this energy. It gets them high.
Yeah. The only problem I would assume is that most of the psychopath, narcissists, and all of those guys actually not able to receive the nurturing and the nourishing from the empath anyway, which then backfires onto the empath, because he'll never get feedback, and actually what they want out of this, because they want recognition, which they're not going to get.
Great. Exactly. Now we got a great question from the chat room from Jessica. What happens when you are an empath who has been raised by a narcissist? First thing first, that's ancestral karma. You have had a contract with those that are raising you, who are the narcissist, in which you must resist becoming a narcissist and excel at using your psychic abilities to stand in your power and say no without violent arms in defense, unless that's the only way to defend yourself, even though you can leave at any time. Even though when you're a young child, you can't. You got to wait till you're 17, 18. And that often is what repeats in the ancestral karma. Now, let's explore this different. How does a young person raised by a narcissist heal?
Well, first of all, what does it look like? And then we can look at it. It's the narcissist is controlling the young person. So it's not an option. So number one, the young person needs to start learning the idea that they have choice, which
and
is
sovereignty.
and actually they are allowed to. They have a voice, which is in a relationship like that. There is no voice. You do what I tell you, and when I tell you, and until you leave this house. That type of stuff.
So oftentimes, children raised by narcissists are compressed really hard, and they have to go through an uncompressing or decompressing process in which they have to fill it with their own energy and not the energy from the narcissist that's imprinting on them. That's the mechanical challenge of healing from a narcissistic relationship at a young age. You have to know the proper energies, and this is that ancestral karma coming back, how to make that energy the right quality energy that's for you. That's why daily practice, ritual and ceremony, self-healing and self-nurture are vital, vital things. Many narcissists don't self-heal, self-nurture. They have other people do it for them.
Correct. Absolutely. Yeah. And also the thing is, the child of a narcissist will always have issues in receiving. So basically what's going to happen is they will have difficulties in being in a good relationship, in making money, in having a career that they enjoy, because they don't know how to receive energies, because they had forced receiving all their life. And it's almost like a mechanism for them to shut down the receiving, because it's the overload. And that's a very, very important point to make, because lots of people don't understand the energetics of receiving, and forced receiving as such.
The forced receiving, once you learn forced receiving, natural receiving is very, 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 very hard to learn at an adult age. Yeah. And this is the damage that is, again, I will relate to as ancestral karma imprinted upon you. So you have to learn the nuances of giving to yourself and the nuances of what quality energy is at low levels, microvolts, giving yourself, and then what's giving yourself macrovolts.
Exactly. And the best way of doing that from experience is actually to let go of all the to identify and acknowledge all that forced receiving. What did that look like? And then let that go. Get out of the programming, because that's pure programming, and then destroy that programming, to really identify it, to let it go, and then the natural type of receiving will surface sort of automatically.
Mm-hmm. So that journey into understanding how you're imprinted at a young age is to know the mechanics of what they did. Example, you eat your vegetables or you don't eat any food. Is that narcissism in general?
Yes.
Okay. You get straight A's or you get no summer vacation. Is that narcissism?
Yes.
Most people don't think it. They think that that's just strong parenting.
No, that's a no choice universe. You have no choice. You know.
Thank you, and thank you. Once you're in the absolution of there is the only way, you are in a narcissistic parental scenario. Unfortunately, a lot of cultures are like that. I'm not going to pick out one. We all know the different one. That form of dictatorship, that person may have not started as a narcissist, but as soon as they became a parent, they did.
Yeah.
Okay? Not all people are narcissists from birth. Like we just talked about, really, there are many people who grew up in a normal house, but as soon as they became in their first relationship, they had to take control of everything. And that is karma coming through once again. And the need to control, the feeding of the ego, the becoming of the type A personality. And are you a subservient to other type A's, or are you the lone wolf moving on?
Yeah, and also I would like to add to this one, the need to control, one's life and one's environment can be understood, okay? Because they were also brought up by narcissists and never had the opportunity, or never took the opportunity, let's put it like that, in order to actually find their own truth, fortify their own reality. And that is another problem. That is another problem that the empath, has, because the empath has sometimes a high level of awareness and an understanding why certain people treat them the way they are. And that is actually, again, something that will backfire onto them.
So that awareness, that's a tricky thing. They don't know how they know it. And most of the time, they are actually in somebody else's field and taking that information as a psychic download offensively. It's how they strike back with unawareness.
But do you think
it's psychic? Empaths are psychic spies on their narcissists.
In unawareness.
Sometimes it becomes awareness too. Okay, I've got to avoid them getting angry. I can do this, this, and this, but how do they know to do this and this and this?
Yes, okay, fair enough. Well, that's their only way of fighting back, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. But
that's
when they recover from that
mechanism.
But when they recover from that relationship, they are full-on psychic brats. Okay?
Okay, because maybe then there's also payback. Yeah, this is when they then turn into the bully, isn't it? Yeah.
Right. That's how they victimize people, by going to their field and reading their things.
That's
when
right.
They should be doing it. It's stepping on somebody else's journey.
Yes.
Okay. Now I want to touch on part of psychopaths and sociopaths. So narcissism is one thing. A lot of sociopaths have tendencies of narcissism minus the emotions. And psychopaths have reached a whole new level of getting their dopamine releases. Narcissists are generally going to get their dopamine released by general manipulation so that their ego is inflated. Mm-hmm. A sociopath is intentionally social engineering their environment at a high level. And the majority of the people that at high-level corporate positions, in the psychological terms in the books, they're more sociopaths than they are narcissists, because they don't care the damage that they do to others. A narcissist still can feel emotions for causing harm. They can still feel guilt. They can still feel shame and blame. They're not in the spectrum of shame, blame, and guilt is nothing to me. I could murder, I could steal billions of dollars from the homeless and be fine with my Porsche and sleep every night. That's a sociopath. A narcissist will still feel some level of emotions and guilt.
Okay, so would you say with the sociopath, there's the element of the I am pretty much being taken over by programs, demons, internal, external, that type of stuff? Where the
yes, half of it being ancestral resolution of those programs, demons, etc.
Yeah.
And the other half meaning standing in your power to not allow those programs to reassert themselves over you for extended periods until you rewrite your programming.
Yeah. So how do you get a sociopath to change?
You can't. You can't. They have to change on their own. They have to have some form of internal revelation that rewires them. Sociopaths, when you look at the brainwave patterns, are wired completely different than the rest of humanity.
Okay. So
and
that
narcissist Leslie was saying narcissists just see black and white. No, they see all the colors. They manipulate others to see their black and white. Now to touch on sociopaths again. Sociopaths are far more common in our society, dated tens of thousands of years of the past because of war, rapid killing, no emotional guidance after war. We just had Iraq, Afghanistan, and the majority of the people coming back have a pharmacological pills to be given, but the emotional support systems are really ineffectual for many of them. And thus you have a culture constantly having 20 to 30% of its population so heavily traumatized, sociopaths become a normal part of society and accepted.
So I appreciate what you're saying is that you can't make a sociopath change. You can't make anybody change. But what I'm saying is, what type of scenario could be conducive for them having to make that choice themselves? It has to probably be in a work environment where they lose their jobs constantly, but they're having to start looking at something different.
A sociopath?
Yeah.
Most sociopaths don't lose their jobs.
They don't even have jobs, probably.
No, they get jobs that allows them to be a sociopath, such as high-level bankers, managers that have to fire people. They'll do the dirty work and sleep every day. There's plenty of positions in this world for sociopaths to stay stable. If not, they will make a stable environment and take others out intentionally so that they have a stable job.
So I would assume we also have addictions there, drug addictions, alcohol, whatever.
So
in addition to that,
if you're fully into the sociopath, drug addiction is not that common. You get your own high off of the sociopathic state. That doesn't mean it has not been there in their journey. Mm-hmm. A child, most people are not born sociopaths. It's into them, or something is clicked into the DNA and the karma that they're going to go down this path. And as I was saying before, what is going to trigger them out? Most of the time, some form of mystical experience that can reset their light from gray and dark to light again, or some scenario in which their reality is heavily challenged, like going to jail, okay, and reforming in jail. Can you truly reform a narcissist, though? No, you can't reform somebody. They can reform themselves and tone it down. Does that mean they're not going to be on meds? The majority of sociopaths also have other psychoses that are attached to it too. Delusions of grandeur, so on and so forth.
Mm. And I would also think that, I mean, both of those profiles are actually not in their bodies a lot, right?
Actually, they are.
They are?
They are.
Just in the head? The bodies completely?
They're there more than we as spiritual people want to realize. They are running the show. And that's the other thing about narcissists. They don't want the programs to run them. That's giving away the narcissistic potency and power. There may be a situation where they allow an autopilot program to run while they're manipulating others. And then a sociopath, being in the body is almost a general requirement to stay a sociopath, because you're imprinting all the time on the central nervous system that lack of emotional quality.
So, because I was always wondering, you know, why people like that do not have a lot of physical issues.
They can, yes, but they control their bodies differently. They don't feel shame, blame, or guilt. Therefore, there's not the deterioration on the body from shame, blame, and guilt.
Yeah, because lots of those people are actually
very healthy.
Quite very healthy. And I've never really, I always thought, what is this? The body needs to break down at some stage, but apparently not. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because of the blame, that's interesting, because there's emotional overload as such.
And the entropy that comes from being compressed and suppressed. The degradation to the body isn't there.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually.
Mm-hmm. Now, there are a lot of narcissists who end up with lots of gastrointestinal issues. And that is a narcissist, narcissist, who is a state that the body is beginning to reject narcissism in general, meaning it's fully a karmic scenario. They've been a narcissist for a long time and they know it, and they're not really doing anything to reduce its strength over them.
So is that connected to the gut-brain axis? You know, the gut-brain,
yep. Yeah, and the dream world too, and the
dream world too, exactly. Yeah, because this is, once they go into the dream world, this is where they have to let go of control.
Right, but oftentimes they try to control the dream world to be the fairy princess that they're always rescuing all the time.
Yes, but then there's the empath waiting for the prince to show up, right?
Right. And the prince is actually a pauper.
Frog. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So would you say that okay, so there's actually there is no emotional, you know, involvement for the narcissist, but you do say that they have certain forms of
right. Sociopaths have zero emotions. Narcissists, yes. We'll just give this is not the end all be all of narcissists.
No,
they experience 30% of the emotions instead of 100%.
Yeah,
there are certain narcissists who use emotional manipulation to imprint into another's an energy in which they suck off that energy, harvest the energy off of them. And that's what ultimately lowers the narcissist's capacity to feel, but the more they feed off of people. Most narcissists are energetic vampires.
Yes. So it's quite interesting, because there's this definition of caring that comes in, because the narcissist comes across as, you stay with me and I look after you, you know, and all of that. And in reality, they're actually sucking them dry. So it's that misidentification of caring. And I think so many empaths falling for that. Oh, right. You know, or they choose the lesser of the two, you know, that type of thing. What's that saying? Choosing
lesser of two evils.
Yeah, exactly. But then again, that's the empath not wanting to take responsibility for their own life and get on with it, you know, and make the choices they have to make.
So let's flip the journey here and talk about empaths.
Okay.
We've beat up on the narcissist for 28 minutes here. Empaths. How many of you out there are an empath? Robert, leave it up there just for a minute as we talk about why empaths are empaths first. What is their purpose in cultural society? And why many of them are so out of control. Martina, what's a purpose of an empath in our culture as spiritual people?
That's really interesting, because I never looked at it from that perspective. What's the purpose of an empath? Because I always looked at them slightly as a victim type thing, you know, they needed to, but they have a purpose too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's the purpose? That's that co-dependent relationship. They're feeding, obviously, the narcissist. And
I'm gonna say something hard. They're followers.
Oh yeah. They're looking for other people to make decisions for them. Yeah, like we said, they're followers. Yeah.
And most people who begin the journey, realize that being an empath is not a red badge of courage of the psychic world. It just means you're open to everything and are easily imprinted on. Because you have an empath skill means you might have all these psychic skills, but until you learn to shut it off, you're useless. And that's some hard words for all the empaths are going, I'm an empath and I love it. And I'm going to Facebook wall it everywhere.
It is harsh words because it's done in such unawareness. I got to stand up for them a little bit here, having been X1, because there is so much unawareness in that. There is such a big misidentification what caring means. There's such a big judgment of self because they're coming from abused relationships, from controlled relationships, from young ages onwards.
Mm-hmm.
So give them some slack.
I have given them much slack, but I can empathetically feel for a person in a moment and not let it run my life.
Yes, and I can do that too now, but that is the journey to sovereignty and to self-mastery. Okay, I can do that now too. But in the beginning, it's that misidentification. How are you being brought up? Sharing is caring and all that bullshit, what you're being indoctrinated from the educational system. So, but the thing is, they're going to pay the price anyway because they're going to get sick, they're going to be unhappy until they start realizing, actually, there's something I'm not, seeing here. And maybe all that self-judgment that I am imposing on myself has nothing to do with me. It's actually projections and expectations of others that I have been, making my own.
Which is the karmic side of the repetition of the empathetic state, which is the lowest level of all psychic abilities.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I like what you're saying there is because the misabuse of the psychic abilities. Now, that's a good one to look at. That I give that one because in the beginning, you don't see that. But that's actually, you can flip that frequency too and say, hey, now that's what you've been doing. Now you can actually start using your psychic capacities in a much more beneficial, contributory way.
Exactly. And then when we separate what the karmic side is and then what the personal inner journey work is for people who are empaths, which is to stand in your power, again, which is reaffirming the karmic work. But a lot of empaths can't stand in their power. Why?
That's
addiction. Just as narcissists feed on all these other people, all too often the addiction of being in other people's field is a high that empaths get.
Okay, so let's explain that a little bit. The addiction to being looked after, the addiction to being...
No, the addiction of being in somebody else's field. Their energy, they're feeding off that other person's energy. They are unsovereign in somebody else's field, taking on their energy and absorbing it through the psychic skill into them. That is another version of harvesting.
I'll tell you what, I don't think I've ever been an empath. I take that back. I totally misidentified what an empath is because that's totally out of my radar here. That's such an interesting point you're making here for all the empaths to look at. Is that really, guys, what you're enjoying?
You're saying no, but you did. If you were attached to the word empath, you were harvesting somebody else. Because you didn't control the skill then. You actually went into their energetic field, empathed from them. What does that mean? Empath. Bring in, feel their energy.
No, I wasn't attached to the word, so I'm good. I'm cool. No, because
So
that,
you're
you
no
know, I don't
longer
get
you're
it.
no longer a recovering empath?
Never been a fucking empath. Sorry, guys. That's it. Maybe that's also why I never really met a narcissist. So thank you. I always ask myself the question, why did I not really meet a proper narcissist? You know? I'm thinking, okay, cool. Get it. Good. But that's a very good point. Thanks for raising that, actually. Because it's so easy, because that's the new word now. Oh, I'm an empath. You know, maybe you actually...
Oh, it's been around since the 80s.
No, I know it's really coming out now.
Okay, Martina, let's look at the word empath alone, without its other connotations. What does that mean?
Empathetic. It's actually a clear sense. It's actually a sense, a clear sense. There are 8 senses for, you know, clairvoyant, clairaudient. There's a clear empath.
I get what you're saying. That's a higher skill set. To feel. When you're feeling someone, are you tapping and sampling their energy at all? An empath is, a psychic isn't. A psychic is not tapping and sampling the energy.
Okay, so hold on. We got the clear empath. What about we got a clear sentient too? Because the clear
different mechanical spiritual journey.
So give us
clairsentience is observing the energy through its observation. An empath has to go into the energy to feel it.
I thought it was what I read the other day, actually, because we talked about clairs and I looked it up. There are 8 clairs. And I thought clair sentient, I know, but clair empath, I never knew that there was such a thing.
No, so, that's just some light worker making stuff up for a book.
Okay, cool. So what about these guys? But actually, let's just mention that here. So what about these guys who actually have who have the capacity to pick up other people's stuff, pains, literally physical, into their bodies and heal it? Is that what clairsentient?
No, that's you got to take the clair concept completely out of that. Those are hundreds of different skill sets applied at once.
Mm-hmm. I was always wondering, you know, I've always come from the premise, you know, you pick up other people's energies, you have to send them back because you can't actually heal them. But then there are people out there who can actually literally digest other people's stuff and, I don't know, eliminate them.
So when an empath taps into another person, they are not a neutral position and they are taking on the charge and polarity, which is in a sense harvesting.
Yeah.
And until the empath learns the sacred neutral point of view and perspective, the challenge for them is to not harvest people, even if it's a drop of energy here and there. That becomes an addiction. That's how they think they're controlling the skill. That's the delusion that most empaths suffer from.
Well, I never looked at that, and it makes a lot of sense why actually the empath stays in the abusive relationship over years and years and years.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now, the amount of energy that the empath is taking versus the narcissist is generally taking 10 times to 100 times the amount.
Yeah.
Until such a time, the empath has reached a rage moment in which they rage in a rage energy, reach into the narcissist and take a whole bunch back, which then confirms them to the narcissistic stage.
Yes. And then it's a matter of, you know, looking at this relationship, how to get out of it. Because to out-create it is quite difficult if you have those dynamics that feed each other. Mm-hmm. It's quite difficult to stay in a relationship like that, even if both people start working on their shit. It's I suppose.
Yeah, I guess at the nuance here, oftentimes the empath is always trying to work on getting out of it. They just don't have the courage, the commitment, and the intestinal fortitude to actually do it. Whether it's monetary reasons that keep them caught, or a variety of other reasons that keep them caught in such a state that they feel disempowered to the level they can just think in their mind, I'll say this next time, I'll say this next time, but I don't actually do anything.
Yeah. There's one thing that does come to mind, which goes with what you said early on, that the empath keeps, you know, sapping the energy, is actually seeking acknowledgement through pain. Those hypochondriacs, or not just hypochondriacs, those people who like like to be in pain, physically, emotionally, whatever, in order to harvest energy from others. So that would fit into that, wouldn't it?
In general, yes. But at the beginning, an empath is taking a drop here or there. But that drop is a macrovolt compared to the microvolts that they create.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why they get overwritten and overwritten and overwritten and overwritten. Now back to empaths, as I've bombastically stated, so many people wear it as a red badge of psychic courage that defines everything who they are. And that generality takes empaths, they're narcissistic empaths. They're a hybrid of the two. And in my personal view, this is what runs the woke culture and what runs the cancel culture, and it runs a lot of the cultures, the counter to counter to counter cultures, because so many people fall into that state right now.
Which culture? The cancel culture.
Cancel, like whatever you believe, we want to cancel what you think.
Oh, right. Okay.
Your ideas are not valid.
Cancel culture. Interesting. I've never heard that. Okay.
Yeah, it's been around a while. It's something you can Google later.
Yeah.
Anyways, so we can't label them idiots, this or that. That's what they believe in. Unfortunately, we live in a placebo-based reality. That what you believe in is true for you.
Yes. And it's only through suspension of belief is that they can start, changing their realities, changing what's required. But would you say, just going back to the narcissist or the psycho, if you wish, can a hermit be a narcissist and a psychopath?
So let's leave psychopath out of it and let's look. Can a
narcissist be a hermit?
The answer is yes, because of the internet. They can be narcissistically control their internet relationships, though the majority of narcissists need physical people to tap into energy. Now, oftentimes people who go to hermitsy are already borderline narcissists and has been dealing with the battle for a very long time. Okay. So, is the cat lady a narcissist? Yes. She manipulates the cats.
Oh. Okay. Even though cats are very, they're not easily manipulated unless you starve them. Don't give them food. My cat just pissed on the bloody couch over there.
That's his social commentary.
Talking about boundary violation.
Okay. Now, hermits have major boundary issues. Why? Why do hermits have boundary issues?
Well, because hermits have boundary issues. Why? Well, they're choosing to isolate themselves because of that, because they don't know how to interact with other people for whatever reason.
Or traumas.
Yes, exactly.
Oftentimes it's traumas that drive people into the hermetic state in which they think they're protecting themselves from the giant world of evils that is out there, which is a narcissistic tendency. They're not using the narcissistic side of surrounding them and insulating them with other people.
So there's a level of self-judgment there.
Yes, most narcissists don't judge themselves. That's another thing. They conclude about themselves so they can change their point of view and waffle with whatever they want. Yeah.
Well, judgment goes either way. So they could judge themselves, say, look, I'd rather stay at home because everybody else is beneath me and I can't be bothered and entertaining a conversation with these people.
Or they don't believe in what I believe in, therefore I have to be alone.
Exactly. And of course, as soon as they get resistance of what their perspective is, or anybody, not aligning and agreeing with them, then that's no longer interesting to them.
And that's a narcissist.
Yes. So that's why they rather stay at home being, and seek out social media, seek out, everything over the internet, where they can then again be the one who dominates.
Now, before social media, the level of hermits versus narcissism and the hybrids of hermit, narcissists, empaths was far less in our society.
Yeah.
It has just proliferated this psychosis.
Yeah. So how would you say the lockdown in the last couple of months has added to all of that?
Oh, there's a lot of hermits who wear the red badge of hermit courage going, I can't be a hermit now because everyone else is a hermit. It's not the fat in thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there are a lot of other people, because of the lockdown, it was the final excuse that gave them the excuse to become a hermit, even though they had been resisting the energy for a long time.
Yeah. Given permission.
Exactly. Given the permission, which once again is going to degrade their actual in-person social skills.
Yes, absolutely.
I say it on my show all the time. Hermits, time for you to get out of the mountain. You can't be monks in the mountain anymore.
Yes.
Being a monk is just an excuse for your saying you're going to live a lifestyle, but you're not living the monk's lifestyle.
Let your voices be heard.
Mm-hmm.
And a great way of doing is all the work, obviously, you're propagating here and, reading things out loud. And because, the longer you are at home and you got I had my hairdresser came today and he said it's so difficult for him to, he hasn't been talking. He hasn't even heard his own voice for the last 3 months or something. He said, I'm so happy I'm here,
Mm-hmm.
It's an effort. It's an application. It's supposed to be joyful application, but you have to choose it.
Once again, choice.
Choice.
Everything is a choice. That's why narcissism eventually becomes a no choice option. Meaning they don't have to choose to be it. It's just the option that frequents their capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And when they have no other options, they're fully a narcissist. And empaths, on the other thing, the options are being given to them, and they're empathing the options being given to them, and then accept the options being given to them.
Yeah. So the question now is for the empath is, so what choices can they make on a daily basis in order to actually use their psychic capacities to contribute to themselves and to others, instead of harvesting from, the weirdos, from the narcissists.
So we've got a great response from Patty here in the chat room. My day, my work, my garden, walk dogs, check out some videos. I don't have a TV. I am a hermit, but I do not feel like I'm a narcissist, because you're on the edge of being a narcissist. You're not fully into the narcissist. It's not the only option for you. Self. You have other things, but there are still narcissistic tendencies because of the empathic journey you've been through to get yourself into the hermitsy and whatever traumas that you've had that are locking yourself out of social engagement that will only elevate your energy and light.
Okay, so let's give another level here. This is quite harsh, maybe, but give another level of comfort zone. It's very easy to lose yourself in the comfort zone, isn't it?
Yes, especially with hermits, with hermits.
Exactly.
The comfort zone also becomes their limitation, in which they will not heal their traumas.
Absolutely. So the comfort zone is always a limitation. Most of the time it is a limitation, because you can't create change in a comfort zone, because you have to actually, almost like change gets triggered by being outside of the comfort zone.
And once you're outside of the comfort zone, your options that are being given to you are completely different. And then there's the potential that you might run into a situation you're not prepared for, which is paranoia.
Exactly. And this is why preparation is always important. It's not planning your future, but preparing for the future.
And this is where the empath side of the narcissist tries to figure out what's happening in their reality moment to moment to moment, which creates a vicious cycle of internal paranoia, because I can't control the moment.
Can't control the moment, can't control the outcome. Exactly.
Which is also a narcissistic tendency too. That's that fine line, 50-50.
Okay, so that's a good one. Yeah. So be aware of that. Yeah. So, and also there's another thing, you know, there is, again, you've got to look at it. What are the possibilities outside of the comfort zone? Are you willing to be dipping into radical aliveness rather than being a comfort zone?
Most people won't take extreme radical changes. They have to control their change slowly, which is still, again, a limitation. But those that are trying to build the stairway out of despair have to find the screws, the hammer, all the stuff, the wood, and then start making a drawing and start making the first and second and the third stair until they realize they were only ankle deep in their own bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay? And then they build the rest of the stair, which is filling in the dirt floor and then saying, I begin to elevate my energy by allowing some form of change that I don't have to control.
Yes. Yes.
Which is meeting people, talking to people, and not finishing their sentences, Miss Empaths, or Mr. Empath, finishing everyone else's sentences. If you're finishing other people's sentences, guess what? You're having a big psychic issue.
Can I talk now?
Yes.
I'm very much now. No, I just want to say something to this radical aliveness. Yeah, I get change happens step by step, being in the moment, all that. And what is that radical aliveness? What if you need to actually put that up there as a motivation? What does that actually look like in order for you to get into that step-to-step moment?
Well, we'll take a caller from somebody that's a full-on hermit and ask them if they can perceive radical aliveness and change.
Okay, come on, guys.
So we're going to open up the calls now. So if you are a radical hermit and want to, as people are raising their hand.
Yes.
Or you have some general questions for us about empaths, hermitsy, narcissists, sociopaths, stuff that you're going through relating to that. We want you to go down to the participants button, click on raise your hand, and raise your hand. And all of you hermits, they're going, I don't want to raise my hand. It's not within my comfort zone. Where? We want people to raise their hand and give us some really interesting questions. So just to finish the thought about radical change, is what I talk about in my teachings radical change?
It leads to radical change.
That's an inevitability. But it starts with the daily practice, which isn't radical.
No,
it's just choice, in which one must have discipline and inner sovereignty and authority to maintain the discipline.
But what your radical awareness is from your teaching, and this is what attracted me to your teaching, was that you can be a multidimensional peacekeeper, peacemaker, fifth wall of peace. Well, that is for me radical aliveness. And in order for me to get there, to become that, to be that, then I'm happy to do my little steps.
Beautiful. A lot of people who are in that hermitsy state have to take baby steps until they can learn to count their victories.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing, going from microvolts to living the macrovolt life. That's the big journey. All right, so go ahead, finish.
No, I was just saying, what tiny little choice can you take today? Yeah, start in small increments in order to reach that radical aliveness, whatever that looks like for you.
Again, what it looks like for you. So Galaxy tab, can an empath raise their hand, or do you don't like them? I'm asking empaths to raise your hand too. Feel me, empath. It's open for everyone.
But don't suck his energy, all right?
Exactly, and I'll tell you right away. All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of empaths or narcissists, sociopaths, and see what the universe has for us.
Yeah, this is good, Andrew. Safe, you are unmuted for the Empath Narcissist show.
Safe, are you there?
Hi.
Hi, how you doing? Where are you calling from today?
Great. From Germany, near
Welcome
Hamburg.
to the show. What do you think of what we're talking about?
I think it's really interesting. Yeah. I've been dealing with a lot of narcissists lately. So, yeah.
So what was the question you had for us?
Well, I'm one of those people who finish other people's sentences. Or find myself trying not to do it. And I would always finish my sister's sentences. So maybe that's a starting point.
So what about normal friends? Do they tell you to say, stop finishing my sentences?
No, they don't tell me. I realize I'm all the time tempted to do that.
So why do you have to finish other people's sentences?
I think it's about impatience or being too engaged or overmotivated.
Martina, I'm going to bring you here and let you. We're going to put her on the hot seat.
Well, I'm wondering if there's an element of you literally knowing what they want to say.
Or wanting to know.
Or is
I don't know.
Is it a control mechanism?
Yeah, it could be.
Mm-hmm.
How often is your finishing of their sentence right or wrong?
Good question.
Well, you wouldn't know, would you? Because the time you finish it, for God's sake.
Most people, when they find somebody finishing their sentence, no, that's not what I was thinking. They'll actually say it.
Yeah, I think maybe 50-50. Kind of.
The problem with that is at times that the conversation gets really boring for you after some time, because you start attracting people who simply allow you to do that. And then where is the conversation going? You know, it's actually, what are you actually gaining from that? That could be something to look at. And then literally what I would do is, whenever you do it, actually, don't do it. Just, you know, get yourself a little bracelet, and whenever you see yourself do it, take the bracelet off, put it on the other wrist, and practice
Great technique
not to do that.
Great technique. But there's something else that you have to look at. You were probably raised as an empath, and you have narcissistic tendencies, and you're using the empath facade so that you could become a narcissist to finish their sentences and control the entire environment.
Yeah. I don't know how much I got it.
If you're having a lot of narcissists in your life, that means you're reflecting that energy a lot. And most narcissists are empaths who are using the narcissist as the facade, or the narcissist is using the empath as the facade. So you have to recognize the types of people that you do it to. The ones that allow you to get away with it. So it's an internal journey and look, just like Martina said, having a bracelet you take on and off, so you can begin to break down the reasons it's happening, the types of people that it's happening, and you can begin to make a pattern recognition.
If you have a 50-50 percentage already, then you know you can pretty much say you have empathetic and narcissistic elements within yourself, because a narcissist wouldn't allow you to do that. You know, pure empath.
I wonder if it's also that sometimes I'm just getting bored because the other person is talking a lot. And it's a way of taking back the conversation.
That's a narcissist, though.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a very good acknowledgement too. And what can you do with that? Is that, you know, the question would be, you know, what else can you choose instead of people who talk over you all the time? Is it time to actually start looking at your empath, and, you know, is it time to start looking at getting rid of the empathic programming, allowing yourself to control through conversation, and go into looking into a more co-creative relationship rather than a codependent one.
Okay, so it's kind of coming down to, it's kind of coming down to not having to control.
Correct.
The conversation.
Learning to uncontrol control.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make a statement. Everything that we're saying are examples and styles. I'm not saying absolutes here. This is stuff for her to look at. And there's some people in the chat room going, it's not everything Andrew says. Yes, that's correct. It's not everything I says. Like I said from the very beginning of this show, this is there for you to help to understand the nuances and tendencies so you can begin your deprogramming, reprogramming journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the magic in the unlimited point of view, that you have choice. Whatever resonates with you, you can choose to take away and work with, and you can leave the rest.
Right. And a full-blown narcissist knows that they can do this at any time, as does an empath.
Exactly.
Everything still comes down to choice. It's still sovereign free will game. Are you being it or not? And that's all you got to remind yourself during a conversation. I don't need to follow the habit patterns of the old. I can choose at any time to stop choosing these old patterns. Yes, it will be an ongoing challenge for me to overcome and deprogram, but the will of sovereignty.
Yeah.
And frankly, if it works for you to finish other people's sentences, if you're happy, well, carry on doing it. There's no point if it works. But the fact that, you seem to be not quite happy with it, it's worthwhile looking at it. What is it I'm not doing, and how can I change that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going out for dinner later, so I can wear a...
Yeah, practice. It's great. Practice.
A band.
Have fun.
Observe.
All right, Safe. Thanks a lot for calling in. We got a bunch of other people that we want to get to. Thanks for calling in.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, Robert, let's spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
Okay, next person will be Andy.
Andy, are you there?
Hello.
Hi, where are you calling from?
Hi, Andrew and Martina. I'm in Manchester, England.
Manchester, England. Welcome to the show. What did you think of what we're talking about so far?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've had a hell of a 10 months where basically I was 6 years into a relationship, and my partner was someone with a chronic illness. And I ended up just really depleted to the point where it ended up bringing up a lot of stuff. And over the last 10 months, I've gone from not knowing much to learning everything from inner child work and trauma and attachment styles. And so, yeah, narcissism and empathy is something I'm sort of trying to identify myself. Maybe you can help me gain some awareness from.
Well, tell me about tell me about the situation that you were in.
So, well, I met a girl at where I worked 7 years ago, and then we were together for a couple of years, and then we got married and we moved out into a few different flats, and then it just gradually just got more and more tiring for me, because I think I underestimated how much work it was going to be, really. And
what kind of sickness? What kind of sickness did she have?
She had MS.
Okay, challenging one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 32. I was 25 at the time when I met her, and yeah, as it went on, especially in the last year, it started to feel very much like I was getting triggered so much by the same sort of things that were in me and my mum's relationship. And I've done quite a lot of therapy and inner work and stuff recently, and learned that, well, I've come to the awareness that my mum was quite controlling and judgmental, and she felt entitled, really, for me to be almost like a substitute spouse emotionally. And if I didn't give her the recognition that she, I think, didn't really get in her life, then I got criticized and judged. And so it's led to me feeling like I've really got this big weight on me. I feel like I'm very, very sensitive. But then when you've talked about certain narcissistic tendencies, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I noticed those things, and I'm not sure which category I fit in, or what, like people have mentioned, is it just a blend of both sometimes, and what do you do about that?
So can I say something?
Go ahead.
Finishing anyone's sentence? Okay. Just careful. No. What if, darling, you don't have to go into definition, am I now an empath, am I a narcissist, and any of that. These things that we were bringing up was to, just like you, now start raising the question, but not necessarily concluding this is what I am and this is what I'm not, There's one question you can really ask yourself, which is so great, which comes from a place of abuse, because both are coming from a place of abuse, having been abused. And abuse is not just sexual abuse, as we know, So what is it actually that have you been tolerating in this relationship that has not worked for you? Very simple question. And that goes for everyone. What is it that I'm tolerating that doesn't work for me? And then really starting to look at what is happening right now. What do I keep on tolerating that doesn't work for me? Because this is where you are continuously self-abusing yourself. If you're not an empath, if you're a narcissist, it doesn't really matter. And then start changing that.
Yeah, thanks.
And keep asking the question without going into conclusion, It's like when I say, don't ever go into conclusion, just whatever comes up, the awareness will come to you. And keep asking over and over again, especially if you start feeling a bit heavy and you feel that you know what it's like to have your energy sucked out when you get into that state. So what is it here that I'm tolerating that's not working for me? And it could be something very simple. It could be something you over listening a conversation in the park and you're picking this up. Why am I listening to this shit? It's draining me. And then change it. Yeah. Don't make anyone else responsible for, whatever they choose, but you don't have to stay there, right? You can change terrain, change your environment, continuously choose for you and as you.
Yeah.
So what were the biggest triggers for you in the relationship?
I think I've kind of got these down now. It's very, very much what my sort of trauma was with my mom. It was like a big lack of attunement, like not feeling like I'd been understood. I think there was a lot of, I've come to see a lot of shame there. So it was like either of us would have some shame that was triggered, and then something would come in and just defend that, and then we'd be in a ping pong battle of, trying to protect our kind of wounds, I think. So
what about her sickness, MS itself, triggered you?
I don't think it really did. It was just that I felt that we're in a difficult circumstances, really, because she wasn't really from Manchester, and so she didn't really have any friends or family here. And so as we were trying to live together, and it just became really, really me that she had to try and support her and help her out. And I never really got much of a break from it. So, but I have to admit, I did end up feeling like I had to do everything for her and think everything for her.
Because you did.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think it got that way.
You actually did. You actually did. She had no friends. She has the capacity to make friends, right?
Well, I noticed this trait that I've learned to be quite common in MS is that people who have MS struggle to ask for help. They feel very unsupported. I don't know whether you agree with that, Andrew.
I do, but that's any sickness.
Yeah. Okay.
MS is a waste-away disease. And yes, they feel guilty about it. And if they don't ask for help, what's going to happen?
Yeah, it felt like she was someone who needed help but wasn't asking for it at times and was stubbornly not asking for it. And it felt like I was watching someone that was sinking, and if I walked away,
all they had to do was to have the sovereign energy of, hey, I need some help to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But in fact chose the unsovereign journey of ego. Okay.
So what was I really to do in that case?
Did you love her? Truly love her? Then you did the right thing until you couldn't tolerate it anymore. Are you in the relationship now?
Sorry? Are
you in the relationship now?
She's literally just moved back to where she's from, another city, quite locally.
Okay.
We're sort of on speaking terms, but she has decided that she needs to focus on her health, and I think we did become very entwined, as you'd expect.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think you did her a favor by choosing for you?
Choosing what, sorry?
For choosing you and ending the relationship. Do you think there is a possibility for her now to start looking at her illness and her situation wherever she goes, wherever she is, maybe from a better perspective?
Well, the relationship kind of just, like, it mutually just came to this point where neither of us could really tolerate it, and she had to go back to where she was from to be closer to support and family and friends.
Have you ever looked at it as a positive step, that could be actually really
yeah I think I accept it's the best thing to happen right now for both of us.
As hard as the challenge was, because you loved her, you knew it was the right choice. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a difficult choice to do. I can fully appreciate that. And sometimes the difficult choices are the ones that take you out of the comfort. Well, there wasn't any comfort zone in the first place, but you know, the difficult choices are the ones that can create change for you and for her.
Now that you're in a situation where you're living alone, how does it feel?
Well, I was craving space. I mean, we ended up living in this sort of shared house temporarily, and that was when I realized that I needed a break because my health and energy was so low. And then I think that was like a re-traumatization for her when she ended up moving out without me. And it was like a re-traumatization of her abandonment as a child.
Which was her issue, but she had sucked you dry, literally. Can you admit that?
I did feel like I needed space.
Can you admit that even though she didn't intend as a plan to suck you dry, that's just the way it ended up because she couldn't do for herself?
Yeah, I can accept that, yeah.
So the journey into self-recovery is storing your energy and not giving it away to others.
Yeah, I feel very sensitive to other people's emotions and energies. And
what do you do for a job?
Well, I was teaching English in TEFL related stuff in a language school a few years ago, and for the last few years I've been trying to do that privately, which has been quite a solitary thing, really. I feel like I'm really missing the interaction, but I'm also really not sure if it's what I'm meant to be doing, and I feel really lost right now, to be honest.
You're lost because you gave away a lot of your life force to her. In the challenge of discovering you had to help her discover herself, which she ultimately didn't want to. So do you have a degree, a college or university degree?
I do, yeah. I have a maths degree.
In what?
Mathematics.
What can you do with your existing mathematics degree?
Well, I do tutor maths a little as well because it pays a bit better, and I I feel like it's a shame to waste it. But, you know, I think doing the maths degree in itself was also something I did from quite an inauthentic place of fear. It wasn't something I was truly passionate about. So I feel like I've yet to really follow my own sort of path.
What are you passionate about?
I've been wanting to ask you this, Andrew, to be honest, for quite a while. I really don't know. Nothing really seems to, I cannot say like, oh, I really love this or that. Maybe I need to try more things. I'm not sure.
I want to bring Martina in here, and she's going to put the blowtorch on for you a second. You do know, you just aren't going to admit it to yourself.
Okay.
Fire up the torch, Martina.
So what makes you passionate? Is that your question?
Yes.
Well, kind of, but I have just feel quite apathetic, really. You know, I know.
Well, yeah, you've just opened the cage of abuse. Okay, you've just opened the prison door, where you have been disconnecting yourself from your inner truth, from what is actually fun for you, what is joyful for you. So at this stage, to go immediately jump into radical aliveness, what we were saying before, is almost like, whoa, hold on a little bit. Okay. So as you're standing in that cage, just imagine yourself, the door has opened. Yeah. What I want you to do is just take one step and see if you can even step out of that cage. Can you step out of it? Literally.
So do you mean as in I've been in
literally see yourself,
been...
see that version of yourself that you are right now, standing in that cage of abuse, in that cage of disconnection, and the door has been opened. And you can't
say abuse. What are you referring to when you say abuse? Sorry.
Well, self-abuse by, you know, disconnecting yourself, not doing what's you, what that type of stuff, yeah, or call it a prison, or, you know, unhappiness, space of unhappiness. Of course, you can't see anything in there. The door is open. What I want you to literally do is take one step. Imagine yourself in that cage, prison, whatever you want to call it, and step outside. Can you do that right now?
Yeah, a little. Like I'm kind of ready to start taking these steps. But
No. One step. Just do one step. See if you can step out. Literally, physically step out right now. It's a metaphor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Can you do it?
Like visually?
Yeah.
Okay. I struggle to visualize, but okay.
And see yourself outside of that cage, that prison, that place, that space.
Okay.
Yeah. And now look ahead of you. What can you see? Can you see something? Can you feel something? Can you taste something? Can you hear something? Anything? Has anything changed now by you stepping outside? What would be joyful? What is desirable? What is more alive than you've been before?
No, I don't get any answers. This is the problem.
Okay, so it's no point to talk about that just yet, okay? We need to get you out of that cage first. And what if you just stay there for a moment, stay there for a little bit. Don't rush, the door is open. Work with that metaphor, okay?
Just don't go back, just try not to go back in the cage.
Yeah, he's not even properly out yet. Or stand next to the open door, whatever. Just give yourself a little bit of time there and work with that. Yeah? And just let go all of that. You need to bring that energy back into your body, into your mind, into everything first. You've been so depleted, you know? And all you need to do is probably just acknowledge that now and not run ahead of yourself and say, oh, what is now radical alive and what is my purpose and all that. It will be very clear to you. Just keep breathing. Work with that metaphor. Use that. And you will find as soon as you can take a couple of steps away from that metaphorical representation of where you've been, the path will almost open up for you. You'll start perceiving, seeing, feeling what is ahead of you. One step at a time. Remember, we were talking about this.
Okay, thanks.
So something else. You've taken on a lot of this compression energy from the person you loved. And that'll be something you acknowledge as you get a little further and a little further away from the cage. What's hers and what's yours? Right now, it's hard to differentiate what is hers and yours. Thus, why it's so hard to even perceive.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's been like a year, this of like a gradual unraveling of this, of feeling so caught up in her, and I really have come a long way since then, but it really has been frustrating to not have any sense of really what I want to do, and I just feel like maybe like I have low energy, so there aren't many opportunities, because I just think, oh well, I'm just gonna get tired trying to do that. So
do you do anything like exercise wise? Do you have an exercise regimen?
Yeah, I do some like weight stuff at home, and I go walking each day in a local nature reserve. So
do you have a bicycle?
Yeah.
Is it like a sporty bike, or is it like more like a 10 or 12 speed?
It's kind of like a hybrid road bike.
Okay. So you can do little bits of tricks and stuff on it, like try to pop a wheelie here and there?
No, it's more like just more like a road bike.
I understand what you're saying. I would recommend that you get something where you have to be a little bit of adrenaline with.
Yeah.
Like you can go and get a semi-tricky type bike where you can go to the park and go up and down the hills and the hills and the things, and not try to do stuff that's going to get you hurt, but trigger some adrenaline in you. Get a motorcycle,
like
get a motorbike, get a motorcycle too.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are just options to get you back to feeling in the body. Martial arts, yoga. There's so many things that you can be doing that just gets you into that state of being present.
And what's fun? What did you do before the relationship? You know?
Well, I was teaching in a language school, and I felt the best. I finally felt free in life, to be honest. I had colleagues, students, friends, students from all over the world. The job was, it had an element of freedom because I could plan my own classes. I could deliver them. I could be artistic. It was great, and I think my life was just getting started, and then I fell into this relationship, which was great, but it, like, as we've discussed, it slowly depleted me, and probably reflected some trauma that was there.
As the teacher that you are, what do you teach yourself in order to get back onto your feet and find that strength?
What could I teach myself, did you say?
Yeah. What can you teach yourself? Because even the teacher program at times is an excuse for not looking after yourself, but again, looking after others. Finding that joy in teaching. I know exactly what that is. And very often we leave ourselves behind again. So if it's just you and your teacher spirit within you, what would your teacher spirit tell you to do in order to find your joy again?
Is that a question for me to think about or answer now?
Yeah, you can answer. There'll be many answers to that.
Well, I feel drawn to traveling, like maybe getting a small van just to feel like I've got some freedom and I can get some excitement.
Sounds cool. Sounds cool. And you can do this still here in the UK, where our lockdown is opening up, and you can always travel in your little van by yourself, even if they starting to make it, lock us down again. That's a good one.
Yeah, that's something I'm working towards, because it's the only thing that feels like something. But Andrew, you said you said I know what I want to do, but I'm just not admitting it.
You haven't come to the point where you can separate what is you from what is her.
Yeah. Okay.
And when you come to the point of separation of her density versus your density, it's been there the whole time. The passion is still there. It's just suppressed. That's why Martina said, take one step first. Feel what it's like to be outside the cage door. Get familiar with it. You don't have to rush 10,000 steps out away from the cage and then break down.
Yeah, something you said on a previous show, Andrew, about to a woman who didn't feel like she was meant to be here, and you put it down to a lack of connection with her mum.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that really resonated with me. I don't really feel much connection with my mum, and we're not talking anymore. And I've really been battling with that. Like, it feels like it's my responsibility to sort things out, yet I actually don't want to because of how she was with me and the judgment and criticism she still puts on me.
You don't have to do anything right now with her, though.
Okay.
You have to work on you first.
Yeah.
Make Andy great again.
Thanks, man. Thanks, Martina.
You're welcome, brother.
You're welcome.
Thanks a lot for calling in.
Cool.
All right,
Take care,
Robert.
guys. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. All right, Robert,
Ciao,
let's
bye.
spin up the wheel of callers and see who is next.
Alrighty. I'm going to get this. Catherine Gautier, you are unmuted.
Catherine Gautier, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Toronto.
Toronto. Welcome to the show. What do you think about what we're talking about so far?
It's really interesting. Sorry, just give me a moment. I'm actually a little unprepared. I just wanted to get my headphones. Can you hear me?
You sound so much better.
Okay, good. Okay. Wow, I feel like I won the lottery. This is actually my first time calling in to the live show. I've listened to your YouTube channel for a little while.
Great. So what do you want to talk to us about?
Well, I definitely in my life have identified as being an empath, and I kind of, like, as you said earlier, wore it as like a badge of honor, and more as like an excuse for I'm taking on other people's energy. It was like kind of like victimization, like I'm depleted, I don't have the energy to get out of bed because I can't watch the news. I have to disengage from what's going on in the world because it's so painful and I'm taking on all this stuff that isn't mine. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I have, I think like that's gotten better through multiple practices. I attribute some of it to Kundalini yoga and like building my electromagnetic field and stuff. Mm-hmm. But it still is an issue, right? And so, and you're okay. So you're talking about the hermit and how it's related to narcissism, and I think about my relationship with my mother, who I've never thought of could even remotely be a narcissist because she's wounded and I think she's empathic, but she's so insecure. And I think of narcissism as having, egotistical and, but she disengages from society, I think because of her woundedness. And it's difficult to, to be around her, and I love her. But like it's a constant like dumping of her emotions on me, and it's really painful, and I want to care.
That is a narcissist. They dump their emotions on those that are around them.
Yeah True.
Okay.
True.
So
okay.
Was your father in the picture a lot?
No. No. I don't even know who my biological father is, and that's like been an issue with my mom and me because she didn't know him that well when I was conceived and didn't really tell him that she thought she can give me the love of two parents, and she was very young and she didn't she was young, she was 19, so I've had to do some forgiveness towards this, although I know that there's still some anger and resentment in there somewhere with her. And I had a father who claimed me as his daughter, but he passed away when I was 10. So that's been my father figure experience.
How old are you?
I'm 39.
Okay, so you're a Gen Xer.
I think I'm on the cusp of like millennial, and I find that ridiculous because I don't identify with being a millennial.
A millennial cutoff is 35.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't really know.
Yeah.
Okay, Gen Xer. Cool.
Yeah. So the journey that you've got going here when you wore that red badge of courage as an empath, how much does that still affect you today?
Well, I don't know. It's not like it's not a sense of pride, and it's not a sense of like, it's not a sense of like I understand it as a gift, but I also understand that I'm not fully like I haven't fully learned how to work with it, I guess. If that makes sense, or how to control it as you.
So if a video pops up and it shows you sick kittens and puppies and asking for $19, can you resist the giving of the $19?
Yes, I can resist it, although it might affect me negatively for like the rest of the day. If I choose to go down that path. There have been times when I don't choose to go down that path, right?
Okay. What other sick puppy scenarios still affect you? Worse than the sick puppy ad.
What thing? Oh, okay.
Starving kids.
Homeless. Yeah, like homeless people. People with mental illness. People with disabilities. People who suffer adversity of any kind. Like it's just, yeah, it hurts.
Why does it hurt?
Because I'm identifying with.
You're tapping into their energy.
Yeah. And I'm taking it on as my own, right?
And then you flagellate yourself for taking on their energy.
Right.
It's a self-deprecation process.
Okay.
Martina, you want anything to add there?
Yeah, I got a question. And maybe that's a good one to ask yourself. So who or what would you actually be? Yeah. If you make that being an empath no longer valuable to your life, would it destroy you? Would you disappear?
No, I wouldn't.
That's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
What would it give you if you would stop making it so valuable to yourself?
Freedom from being pummeled by energy that's not mine.
Yeah. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
The question is, do you really want to have that freedom? What would you do with it?
Well, I guess I'm struggling with like, because I've always seen it as a gift, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Mm-hmm.
Who told you it was a gift? What lightworker book community told you it was a gift?
I know, I can't recall, but it's just, that's the way it is. I don't know who said it or where I got it from, but it's the impression that I've always had. And you're telling me that's not true? Which
you took from someone else. Correct.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Empathy is the lowest level of all psychic skills.
Mm.
The absolute rock bottom.
Okay.
There's all the other skills are above it. So why is this rock bottom skill running your life? Because you've mastered it.
Right. You've
mastered self-deprecation. You've mastered taking out other people's energy, and you use the word pummel.
Uh-huh.
You actually tacitly and viscerally feel it.
Yeah, it's like I'm being bulldozed over sometimes.
That means you have zero control over your vagus nerve and the psychic skills and the flow of energy that's hitting you, literally hitting you.
Yeah. So how do I do that then?
Who did you learn that from? Mom.
Okay.
Mom dumping on you.
Okay.
So the beginning work is to understand the young you began the emotion, you were the receiver of the emotional dumpster.
Mm.
The avalanche overwhelmed your central nervous system. You've got to build up the strength to reject in the moment.
Right. And how do I do that while still being present? Because I've tried that type of like technique before, and I just like, and then I sort of, I'm trying to be present, aware of my field, and not allowing stuff to kind of come on top of me, and then I realize I'm not present with the conversation because I'm really just like trying to protect myself.
Are you afraid of snakes?
Snakes?
Yeah.
That's a good question. Potentially venomous snakes?
If a snake were to slither past your feet unexpectedly, would you flip out?
I wouldn't flip out, but I would have an uneasy feeling, I think.
Would you have an anxiety attack?
Not an anxiety attack. No, it would startle me though. It would be like, I
actually believe that it would put you in an anxiety and a panic attack.
You think so? Oh.
Because your skill set is still so dialed up, you don't even realize when you use it. You've got to learn to turn off empathy altogether.
Okay.
And once you've mastered the on-off switch, you can move on because you've mastered the skill of not dumping on yourself. I do not have to empathize with the starving children ad. I do not have to allow myself to be beat up by this energy. And that's standing in your sovereign space to say no. Did you have the capacity to say no to your mom when she was emotionally dumping on you?
No. No, I did not.
Okay. Do you have it now?
I do, but then that would cause a lot of problems in our relationship.
So the answer is no, you don't.
Yeah.
Okay? So to answer your question, how do you begin resisting? You don't allow yourself to do it. And if these other techniques you're doing, you weren't really doing the techniques then.
Okay.
Because you would get results immediately. What's your biggest fear right now?
Oh God. I think it's not living to my highest potential and my true purpose for being here. And
that's light work or propaganda. You're just regurgitating.
Okay. But that's kind of how I feel though. I don't.
Yeah, I know. It's just a regurgitation. It's not the real you.
Okay.
It's an answer to cover up the real scenario of you.
Okay.
Go beyond that answer. What's the answer behind and then the answer behind that? Look at what you're avoiding here.
Look at what, sorry?
What you're avoiding.
Oh, I have a fear of not being happy.
Okay. Which is a byproduct of not living to your fullest potential.
Yeah.
Which you can't live to your fullest potential because you're emotionally disabled by other people's emotions that disable you.
Right.
But one step further.
I have a fear of judgment, ridicule, being shunned, not accepted for who I am.
All things mom imprinted onto you.
Okay.
So what's you now?
What is me?
What is the Kateri and not your mom that mom imprinted on you? The authentic signature frequency you.
That's a great question. You want me to answer that?
You may not have an answer, and that's okay.
Okay.
But try.
Like, who am I, basically, is what you're asking. I honestly, like, it's hard for me to, like, separate now. Okay, this, because I've always viewed like being an empath as like a gift. So now it's hard for me to even like fathom that that's not the case, right? And
broken faith.
Yeah. So just like, I'm a sensitive soul, like I could say that.
Do you have intimacy issues?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. I very much do, yeah.
So you really don't know who you are without being an empath?
I guess not.
Like the other caller, you've got to learn to turn it off and learn how to be you without it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted Martina to add her 27 cents here.
This is why I asked you the question. I said, if you would stop making being an empath valuable to yourself, what would that give you? What would that make you? Would it destroy you?
No, it wouldn't destroy me. I just have to reframe and process this program, I guess, that I've...
Yeah. Would you still know who you are if you're no longer an empath?
Would I still know who I am? I don't know if I ever really truly have known who I am. I know parts of me, but I know like the whole self, like I'm still discovering.
You said something interesting, which I want to say something to you. You said you're afraid of being judged, right?
Yeah.
So do you think, if you honestly look at being an empath, is there an element of you judging?
Myself? Judging myself?
No.
Oh. Because I definitely do that. I judge myself. But
you judge yourself. Yeah. And let me add something now. As an empath, by having a conclusive point of view of somebody is being poor, somebody needs help, do you think that's a judgment in itself?
Right. Yeah, that is. I agree.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's something to look at. And that's something, a bitter pill to swallow, which I had to look at too at some stage, because it was so taken away from my awareness, that superior bitch syndrome. You're not going to like...
Mm-hmm.
Does being an empath at times make you a superior bitch?
Yes.
That's the high you get off the addiction.
By you concluding that somebody needs your help, by you concluding that somebody requires your tears, and if that is that really true?
Right. I don't know.
That brings up for you, just let that go, okay? Because this is not supposed to add judgment to yourself, but actually I'm thinking, shit, you know, with all this empath business and it's a gift and all that, I'm actually judging the person, I'm judging the situation. What if they have chosen that because that's their karmic retribution?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
That's a different spin on it. And if you're worried about being judged by others, you've got to actually look at that and say, shit, I'm judging. I am the one who's judging.
Through your empathy.
Right.
Through your empathy. So let that go. If you know, it's a different way of looking at empathy. It's like, oh God, yeah. So every time you do have your tears, what is this now? Am I judging? And then let that go. Stop that. And it's just choosing to stop that. And then what else comes? By the time you let go of all that that energy that you're sucking up and sending away and all that stuff, you can start using that energy for yourself to actually start thinking along the lines, what's joyful for me, what's fun, how can I create abundance, how can I be radically alive, what's my purpose, all that. And that will just come automatically. But coming judgment of yourself and others. But going back to being destroyed, there's always one thing, and again, it's a bit of a tricky one. It's like, are you willing to destroy your mother? Are you willing to destroy everything around you that is putting the thumb onto you, that keeps you small, that keeps you limited? Energetically. And if you're not, then they will keep on judging you. They will keep on sucking you dry. You don't have to go around killing anyone, okay?
I know.
But you have to be energetically saying, look, this does not work for me anymore, not with me. But it starts with you not doing it with others. That's that combo you got to look at. That's when everything changes. You come out of this cage of abuse and you go into, okay, what else is possible here? What else can I do with this?
So can you
tell you what your purpose is?
Like if I'm having a conversation with my mom and she's telling me about her day and all the things that happened to her, and you know, it's like not feeling very good for me because I'm taking it on.
Okay, so there's the tool, there's the tool, and that's the Access tool. Yeah, so some of my tools that I'm using, I'm an Access practitioner. I used to learn that. And it's just one of those tools. Whatever she says to you, it's just an interesting point of view. It's interesting.
It doesn't need to be anything more than that.
You don't have to entangle with it. You don't have to cry. You don't have to think it's superb. Hi, I'm so happy for you. No, it's okay. Interesting. Just say, oh, that's interesting, Mom.
But it's not, because she goes on and on and on.
It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool. It's a tool. Okay. Yeah.
But when she goes on and on and on, at what point is she abusing you? And you have to extricate yourself from that scenario.
Exactly. Say, oh, Mom, I have to go. There's something I need to do.
Yeah.
Just know when you have to take yourself out of the situation. It's a choice.
And then I feel guilty for not being like supportive of her, you know, like that's kind of.
How much more support does she need?
I honestly, I don't think it's helping her or me.
It's your whole life. You've been supporting her your whole life. Are you going to support her till she's the point that she's dead and you have nothing left for yourself?
Has she ever received your support?
Not in the moment, but I think sometimes I plant seeds and then later on I'll see that, you know, that sort of germinated a little bit. But
she always falls back to where her traumas are. She doesn't really advance. It's a facade.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Which
see
means she doesn't receive it.
Sorry?
Which means she does not receive it.
Yeah. Okay.
You got to see her facade for what it is.
All right. Oh, that's really hard.
It's because you identify with it and you have your own facade up that you've created based off of hers. That's why you can't be intimate with anyone. Okay.
Thank you.
Something else for you. Are you in any form of relationship now?
I just broke up with somebody.
How long were you with them?
It was 3.5 months, but we basically started our relationship quarantining together. So it jumped in pretty quick. Okay. And then
why did it end?
I think, I wasn't essentially happy. And I realized that he's not the one that I'm really going to walk with on this journey. So why waste my time by staying in that relationship, which has been my pattern, staying in relationships longer than, you know.
Is he a narcissist?
Is he a narcissist? No, I would say no. Are you saying yes? You're silent, telling me.
No. Your own admission, he's not a narcissist.
What's that? No admission?
That was your admission. Your admission is he's not a narcissist.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think he is.
That's why I just asked you, is he a narcissist or not?
Mm-hmm.
Your answer is no. What is he then?
What is he? He's wounded. He's a caregiver. He's a bit needy, and I felt a bit suffocated in the relationship. He's a sweetheart. A lot of really good qualities. It's just not for me right now. And I think we gained a lot from the relationship, but it was time to move on for both of us.
Mm-hmm. So are there any patterns in your other relationships that do relate to this last one?
I do look at patterns in relationships quite often. This one seemed to be a bit different. But I'm just trying to think if there was something that I observed. Yeah, there was some things with housework and things like that. yeah, that issues that came up, and yeah.
Okay. And what is the next type of relationship that you'd want to have?
I want to have a relationship that we mutually benefit from, that we are, I guess, a vibrational match, and a loving, respectful, harmonious, but also where we challenge each other in in good ways, not in really negative.
With that stated, can you see how being the red badge of courage empath can destroy that relationship from ever even being a potential for you?
A little bit.
Allowing people to emotionally dump on you, such as your mother, would make relationships like that never be a signature frequency match for you?
Yes, now that you pointed out,
that's all I wanted to do. So as you begin to confront your intimacy issues and you realize your intimacy issues come from your mother, your relationship issues come from your mother, and you already know what you want out of a relationship, you can manifest, you just can't maintain it because of the things that you have to change in yourself. Because if you're still an emotional dumping ground for your mother, that's going to come up in your relationship. You're going to dump on them and they're going to dump back on you, and it's going to be a vicious cycle over and over.
Yeah.
Martina, anything to add on the relationship side?
Yeah, do you know, the relationship for me always starts with the relationship with yourself. So really looking at what intimacy with yourself actually means. What does that look like? Lots and lots of different tools. I'm actually having the Wednesday tomorrow, we're having a Zoom about that, intimacy with yourself, looking at the male and the female aspect of ourselves and how they relate to each other. You know, and obviously all of that is always reflected in your relationship. So you could look at the reflection of what is your relationship, if you take the one that you've just got out of, telling you about yourself, about the relationship, about yourself. It's an exploration, darling, and it's fun. You know, you can make this fun to really look at that, and probably stay out of relationships for a little bit until you really get a bit more of a sense of what is it that I truly actually require, and what is it that I truly actually offer without any judgment.
Okay.
Gratitude, you know, gratitude is part of the intimacy, and gratitude is the antidote for judgment. So you can always start from a place of gratitude. What are you grateful for the relationship that you've just been in? You're grateful for with the relationship with your mother at the same time, and see if you can come out of judgment. What are you grateful for yourself? You know, who you are, your contributions and all of that, and then take it from there. Work yourself out into that one.
Okay, I could do that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for calling, Kateri. And you have a great day. And when you go back and listen to this, there's plenty of things for you to think and rethink. And I'd highly recommend that you actually transcribe this whole show from beginning to end. You're going to learn in the transcription process a much deeper journey of understanding the concepts, because you have to go from hand to eye to mind to hand again.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Yep.
And also just one thing, those tools, like those questions and everything, that's a practice thing. So keep on asking those questions, you know, and it becomes clearer as you keep on using them, almost like let them become your mantra.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right.
I really appreciate it. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks a lot for calling in. Martina, you want to give way for people to get a hold of you when your shows are going to be on?
Yeah, Wednesday, tomorrow, 5 o'clock UK time. It's the Earth Nouveau collaboration. The website is www.earthnouveau.com.
.com. And then we're doing, it's a free Zoom, and we're exploring consciousness, and you can ask all sorts of questions along those lines and finding, the male, female, and finding that intimacy within the self.
Wonderful. And everyone, we will be back this coming Thursday with another show, which will be a call-in show. Make sure you hit like, subscribe, and share this as far and wide as everyone can go. Thanks a lot, everyone. Robert, take us away.
Each different bubble of reality is true. A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma. Nudge, nudge, it's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence. Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important? Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Hello, let's create, let's co-create, and let's change this world with love. No matter if you're from Alpha Centauri or Earth, we all began with the same birthing process. We live in a limited point of view. Living the mystical life daily is about striving for the unlimited point of view. Each day, each human being gets an infinite amount of choices. Living the mystical life daily is about facing obstacles and challenges. The level of awareness that you are working at means you have a responsibility to be equal with it. How does one truly let go of expectation? You can make the moment that you wake up to the moment you go to sleep sacred. The keys to success: choice, 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 and choice.